YouTube, welcome back to the BladesIIB shop and another project video. Got a little customer project here today. I've got these small little brackets. They're used for locking the leaves into a dining room table. So a customer lost a few of those. These ones are made of brass, but they're actually hidden. You're not going to be able to see them. They just go underneath the table and they slide in to lock the leaves together. So we're going to make a couple more of these out of aluminum. What I've got is some 3/8 thick aluminum, so they won't be quite as thick as these ones, but it'll be pretty close, and that's just a finger grab. Customer said that's going to work just fine. So I've got a bigger piece of this aluminum, and that's what we're going to cut them out on. We'll go ahead and knock these out on the Tormach, and we'll see how that works. We're going to go up and design this in Fusion 360. See how long it takes for us to do that, and then we'll come down here and knock it out on the Tormach. So for those of you subscribed to the channel, I sure appreciate it. The channel continues to grow, and I appreciate y'all watching the videos. If you're new to the channel, want to see more videos on machining, welding, knife making, everything else going on here in the BladesIIB shop, good time to hit that subscribe button. Let's go ahead, let's jump on the computer in Fusion 360, and let's see how long it takes for us to design this and program the part. Let's head on up.
All right, so we know what we've got to build. We're going to try something a little bit different today, and I'm going to go ahead and keep track of the time, see how long it takes for me to design this, build this in Fusion 360, go ahead and put together the manufacturing side, and actually get this down onto the Tormach. So we'll talk through getting this started. I'll probably end up speeding up the video here, but I will keep track of what the actual time was to do this. So first thing I want to do is I want to save this drawing, give it a name. We'll call it our table leaf holders. All right, so we've got that. And then the first thing I want to create is a new component in here. Correct my spelling on that. Okay, so we've got our table leaf bracket. That's what we're going to build first. So I just want to create a rectangle to start from. Got my drawing set on the top. And we'll speed it up as I get into making this drawing here. So overall went pretty quick. A bit of an optical illusion. Looked like it was a little too tall there. Also, I realize I don't need to use the points when I'm making this. I could just put lines on here, but for me, I just find it's a lot easier to drop these points in place and to go do the dimensions. I'm still working on learning all the constraints for lines, so lots of ways to use Fusion. Right now, mentally where I am, this is just what works for me, is to put points on there, dimension them all into place, and then draw lines, connect the dots, extrude that out. So went pretty quick to make this piece. I think it only took me about 25 minutes or so to draw this up in Fusion. I ended up putting bevels on those front of those legs. Later I do change that to a radius. I thought that was going to look a little bit better. And then we get over here to the cam side, the manufacturing side of this, and got the first setup. I'm going to start with a long piece of material, so I put that to make sure I can hang it out the right side of the vise. That's how I'm going to want to set that up. And then just went through and, faced off, kind of put that first pocket in there, got that machined out, and then worked on how I was going to get the slot and profile around it after that. So spent a little bit of time here picking my tools. I've already got a tool library set up for my aluminum tools, so went fairly quickly up to this point and start working on the machining, getting that done. And we're going to take a look here and sort of skip ahead here in a minute to watch the simulation of this getting machined. I did bounce around here for a couple of minutes because I really thought I was going to do the majority of this in one setup and try to cut those corners right there. I thought I was going to be able to cut those profiles from the top. Turned out that that was not going to work. So like I say, we jump ahead and let's go ahead and watch the simulation of this being cut. Going to go through with the first end mill, rough this all around on that top pocket. Don't even have to cut all the aluminum out, so seemed like a pretty decent tool path to get rid of that. Go around and profile around the outside with a little bit larger tool at first, but that was a little too big a radius in the corner, so come along with a little smaller tool after that to get a little bit more, a little less radius in the corners. And this is where I had to change the setup. So I already was going to have to face the bottom off anyway, so I went ahead and faced it and then put in those corner radiuses while I had it standing on its end and profiled the end piece. And that's pretty much it. That's done. Let's head down to the Tormach and let's actually build these out.
All right, well, I forgot to turn the camera on, but just sawed a 3-inch or just 2.8-inch wide piece of this. We're going to go grab this in the mill now. We'll set it down, we'll get ourselves a nice square edge, and then we'll be able to hold on to this in the vise. So let's head back over to the mill. All right, first step, I just want to get our piece in here, and I haven't actually used the conversational programming on this Tormach yet, but I just want to face that piece off, get it square, get us down to about 2.8 inches. So I'm going to practice this conversational machining, and we'll see how fast and easy that is, just to get that flat edge on our piece there. All right, so here's my conversational programming. So we're gonna see what we can do with this. Okay, I wanna use tool number 21, spindle RPM, I want 6,000. Feed rate, I want 15 inches per minute. Go 12, let's see, Z clear is, yeah, I like where it is right there. So Z clear can be 0.2020. Hex start is going to be 0, X end is going to be negative 10.4, Y start is going to be 0, step over is going to be 0.350, 3/8 cutter, Y end is going to be 0.100, the Z start is going to be 0, and the depth of cut is going to be 0.025, so Z end is going to be 0.025. We'll use coolant. Let's post that and see what happens. Work offset not valid. All right, so we're on G54, so that's what we need to put in for our work offset. Next start. Okay, so it's gonna start in this corner, and I had my XY set up in the wrong place. So let's figure out where I want that. Okay, 0. Okay, so you don't get to pick where you want your X, Y, Z coordinates to start. It's gonna start where that plus sign is, so I had to set it up on that corner, and I had set mine up over here. So just changed a couple of numbers around. Z start must be larger than Z end. All right, so this is where I need to go to negative 0.025. All right, so that looks good. It's gonna move 10.8 inches, come over, come around. Well, let's see how we did on a conversational. Not sure that's significantly faster than running upstairs, but good learning for next time around. Well, that was almost it. It just didn't step over. So what did I miss here on my... So it was supposed to start on a Y of 0, and it looks like it ran at negative 0.120. Well, I don't know why it didn't step over. It should have stepped over to there. Okay, I guess those conflicted with each other. So I guess I really only needed it to step over. All right, so I guess that'll allow it to step over that much. Try that. Okay, I think I figured it out. Let's try this one. So I've got to set my Y end at least the width of my part, 0.375. This time I set my step over at about 80% of the tool, and it shows it's making a path each way. Let's try it again. Okay, I think I figured out what it's trying to do. It is trying to leave the seam right down the middle of your part based on the parameters I put in there. So now that I've got 0.375, I've got the width. We'll take the other pass to see for sure, but looking from the side, it looks like it's trying to put that seam right in the middle. So let's set up our last cut for 25 more thou.
And there's our conversational. Now it's tracking right down the middle of our part, and we should have a good finish. We should be at width when we get done, and we'll be ready to run our actual code here. And there we go. All right, we got our conversational to run. Now we've got a square part in here that we can set up in our vise. We can start cutting our actual piece out of it. Yep, pretty much puts that line down the middle. So, good to know how to do conversational on here. Not quite as intuitive, but now that I've done it once, I think pretty much figured it out. Actually probably is more intuitive than I made it out to seem there. I made it more complicated than it had to be. We're good to go. Get our piece lined up here. All right, so I need 2 1/8 for my part, plus that 3/8 cutter is going to go past there, so I need at least, we're just going to go 2 3/4 inches to be safe. Well, here we go. We got our part loaded up in here. We're probed up here off of this corner, so we've got our X, Y, and Z set up there. From a tooling perspective, we need tools number 19, 20, and 21 actually. So we actually modified the program a little bit. So yeah, we see we need tools 19, 20, and 21. So we've got those loaded in our tool changer, 19, 20, and 21. And we've got our program loaded here. So there's our X, Y, Z off of this corner. And we're going to go through and use those 3 tools to rough this out, cut this out, and then after that we'll cut it in the bandsaw, put it on its end, and we'll face it off and contour it. So we should be able to knock out 3 of these, get them done, and then we'll cut them all 3 of them off. We'll come back and load them back in here and contour. Let's see how she runs. Slow that feed down a bit, hanging out there a lot on the end.
step one looks good. Got that roughed out where we wanted to. You just check, I'll measure the width right there, make sure we got that a nice 1/8 of an inch, and then we'll let it cut out the profile. Should be just about set. Yes, that roughed out nicely. Gonna run around there with a 1/8 diameter, get a little bit less radius in those corners, get those cleaned up a little bit, and then you're ready to get that out of there, cut it to length and finish the end. Alright, there's finished part number one. Let's get that out of there. We'll get that over to the bandsaw and we'll cut that across there. And then we'll knock out our other two and we'll come back and finish the other end of those. Alright, our Z was still good within half a thou. Y should still be good also. Yes, Y is also still good. Next time I won't even check those, we'll just recheck X. Alright, that was 100th out different, and yeah, right at about 2 3/4. Don't remember where I was last time. Alright, let's go ahead and run this full program this time.
All right, so with no stopping to record, took right at 7 minutes cycle time to produce that part. So that's what we've got there in 7 minutes of machining. Let's get this next one cut off. We'll get our last one machined. I think I'm gonna have enough to grab onto it there. And then we'll come back and do the ends on all three of them. All right, this time I just probed X right here because Y and Z should be the same from our last two setups. So just probed X. Let's knock this one out. Another 7 minutes. All right, and there's number 3. Let's get that cut and let's see how we do with our second operation here on the back side of these. Alright, so I got my piece set up in here now, and I have zeroed it on the back side, X, Y, Z on the top side there. So for the next couple of parts that I put in, Y shouldn't change, so my Y is still going to stay the same. Z, I'm going to leave it the same, even though they may have been cut a little bit different. This isn't a critical dimension right here, so whatever I face this one to, taking 25 thou off, we'll just make sure all three of them are the same. So we'll leave Z set. All I'm going to have to do is just check X as I put the additional pieces in the vise. We should be able to knock all three of these out pretty quick. Should be a pretty quick cycle. Just going to go down and face off the top and round off those corners. Yep, minute and 16 seconds. And there we go, good looking part. Let's knock out these other two. Well, a couple shots on the buffing wheel, and there we go. We are CNCing now. So I think those turned out all right. So just slightly different here on the end than that original one was, but still plenty to grab onto with your fingers. And those should work to hold those leaves on the table and get those together. So yeah, happy with how that project turned out. Didn't take too long, a little bit long on the Fusion 360 side, but overall, I think it turned out all right. Well, YouTube, thanks for watching another project here in the BladesIIB shop. Hope you enjoyed as we went in and put these into Fusion, made a couple of these little brackets. You know, looks like a pretty simple part, but I still need to speed up my game a little bit in Fusion as I'm designing these
and working on the how to machine it and which steps I want to do in which order. So I thought I was going to be able to do that contour down the edge while it was up here, and there probably is a way to do that in Fusion. I was not able to figure out how to do that contour that way, so I ended up having to stand it on end to do that as part of facing. Still worked out pretty well, but clearly a lot more to learn in Fusion, so hope you'll continue to hang out with me, watch these videos as we work through Fusion and continue to learn more on this Tormach. So for those of you subscribed to the channel, sure appreciate it. Haven't had a chance to subscribe yet. Hope you enjoyed this video. Great time to hit that subscribe button and know exactly when the next video is coming out. Until then, hope you're out in your own shop working on some projects of your own. We'll be here in the BladesIIB shop working on whatever is coming in next. Probably going to be working on that knife video and our next step as we got that blade out of the oven. Time to finish the blade and start fitting that triple BS knife lock together. So hope you'll tune in next time for that video. Until then, take care.